And right now, without any further ado, the pretty part and the real talented young lady, Miss Connie Smith.
Could I just have one moment with you? We're here all alone, just us two.
In 1964, a young new singer named Connie Smith came to Nashville. From the moment her powerful and pure voice hit the airwaves, she began a reign as one of the queens of country music.
She's got a pure raw talent, you know? It's not anything that she got from being trained or anything like that. Everything she does is from inside.
Throughout the 60s and 70s, Connie's stars shone among the brightest in all of country music. She recorded dozens of hit albums and songs, graced television and movie screens, and won the title of the Sweetheart of the Grand Ole Opry. Her talent and success placed her in the company of the likes of Tammy Wynette and Loretta Lynn. But at the peak of her fame, she made a sudden, unthinkable decision to retire, a decision that shocked and dismayed the country world.
I was kind of like the rest of the town when I heard that Connie was going to retire. I didn't quite understand it because I thought, here is our singer. Here's a superstar sitting on the launching pad. What's going on? What's she thinking about?
What she was thinking about were private matters of the heart and home. Connie's personal issues kept her out of the recording studio for 2 decades. In 1998, she released her first album in 20 years, thrilling her fans who were overjoyed to see their star shining brightly once again.
She's got everlasting beauty. She's just prettier as she gets older. And so the looks ain't no problem, I'll tell you that. And the voice sure isn't no problem. She's got all the things that you need, I think, for to be successful.
The Connie Smith story begins with overnight success, meets in the middle with conflict and heartbreak, and then picks up right where it left off. It covers record-breaking fame, deeply personal revelations, and a storybook finish filled with happiness and hope. For the woman traveling this wild and challenging road, the journey makes perfect sense.
I really believe that I belong here at this point. Maybe tomorrow it'll be different, but I believe I'm exactly where I need to be.
As a performer, Connie Smith traveled around the world, surrounded by thousands of fans. As a child, Connie also traveled quite a bit as part of a large family. Born Constance June Metter on August 14, 1941 in Elkhart, Indiana, it wasn't long before her parents, Hobart and Wilma Metter, moved their family back to their native hometown near Hinton, West Virginia.
My father was a carpenter like his daddy was, like on down the line, but he was also an alcoholic. And so that was my memories of him. And my mother was, she was a nurse. What time she wasn't taking care of us, you know, kids, which was most of the time.
Already one of 5 children, Connie got 8 stepbrothers and sisters when her mother divorced her father and then later met and married Thomas Clark. The big family struggled to get by, often sharecropping to keep food on the table. They moved whenever a situation got too tough or if a better one became available.
My daddy did some logging, he did some heavy equipment work, my stepdaddy. And Mama would, you know, when she had to, Mama did anything. You could go in the house and there wouldn't be anything to eat, but Mama would find a meal. The first thing you know, she'd have a meal cooked. We ate a lot of beans, a lot of taters. When you're that poor, then you get laughed at or you get picked on. And I think we're aware of that, but there were so many of us, it wasn't, you weren't in it by yourself.
The Metter household wasn't filled with many possessions, but one thing it was filled with was music. After a long day of school and then working on the farm or in the house, Connie and her family loved listening to the magical sounds that came from an old record player.
The first song I remember learning was You Are My Sunshine by Governor Jimmy Davis. And then the first records, Daddy loved Ernest Tubb, my real daddy. My mama's favorite was Eddie Arnold. I loved it with all my heart. And I used to listen to the Grand Ole Opry. Any chance we got, we would listen to the Opry if we had a radio that could get it in. And my favorite were the Louvin brothers on the Grand Ole Opry. And from the time I was 5, I remember someday I want to sing on the Grand Ole Opry.
Connie began to sing around the house and while playing in the woods. Her earliest attempt to sing for an audience came when she joined her sisters who sang for their father. Unfortunately, her first reviews were not favorable.
I wanted to sing with them, and I was just trying to learn how to sing harmony. But when I'd get in there, my stepdaddy would run me out because he loved to hear them sing, and I was just learning, and I wouldn't hit it right. And so I never got to sing with them any, you know. But I'd just go out and basically I'd climb a tree, you know, a little sapling, swing back and forth and sing to myself.
When she was 10 years old, Connie moved with her family to southern Ohio. She continued to sing to herself and occasionally at school. By the time she reached high school, Connie wanted to sing more than anything, but shyness prevented her from pursuing opportunities. Her big breakthrough came at a local square dance.
There was a group from my school that were up there playing at the square dance and asked me to come up and sing. And I sang My Happiness, that old Connie Francis song. And I really didn't know much about singing with music, and they were just kind of getting into it too. So they were kind of waiting on me to set the tempo, and I was waiting on them, and it got so bad that everybody had to quit dancing. But I got $3. That was my first paid gig.
That performance got Connie invited to sing with a local band. She learned on the job, never taking lessons, performing whenever and wherever she could. She graduated at the top of her class in 1959 and started singing at PTA meetings, county fairs, and square dances. One square dance in 1960 turned into an especially magical evening.
Some guy had asked me to dance, and as I was dancing, I saw this guy standing over, and I thought he was so handsome. Every time I'd go around, I'd ask him, do you know who that is? And every time we'd go a little bit farther, I'd ask him another question, and finally he got mad and walked off.
The boy who had caught Connie's eye was named Jerry Smith. They met that night, and about a year later, were married. Connie Smith was beginning a journey she fully expected to be a lifelong honeymoon.
That's what I always wanted. I wanted to grow up and get married and find my Prince Charming and have a whole house full of kids. And even though I said someday I'll sing on the Grand Ole Opry, that was a dream that I never really expected to come true. I did expect to get married and have a perfect house and a perfect husband and a perfect home and a perfect family.
Her hopes for a storybook life took a giant step forward when she sang with a group from a nearby television station. After that performance and an audition, Connie was invited to sing live on a weekly show. For the 22-year-old, it was both a dream come true and a nightmare.
I was so green when I started. I remember I was on camera one day, and it hit me that I was on television, and I just forgot everything I was going to say, and I ran to the bathroom. So I was right in the middle of the song singing, and all of a sudden, there's nobody on camera.
Connie overcame her stage fright and learned to love performing. She also loved being a wife and soon became pregnant. In March 1963, Darren Smith was born. Connie was busy and content being a mother and singing on television that one time a week. Things might have continued that way if the Smith family hadn't attended a concert in nearby Columbus, Ohio, headlined by Grand Ole Opry star Bill Anderson.
When we got there, we also found out they had a talent contest every Sunday. And my husband and some friends talked me into entering the talent contest. And the scariest part about that was that you had to play your own accompaniment. And I'm not, you know, I never was a guitar player. I got to learn that too when I grow up. But I did. I played a little bit in the key of C, and I sang a song that Gene Shepard had called I Thought of You.
Anderson judged the contest that day. He didn't like talent competitions and had nearly turned down the offer to participate in this one. As things turned out, he was very thankful he showed up.
She started singing, and I started looking around to see where this sound was coming from. I said, there's no way that that big voice can be coming out of that dainty little girl. I really thought for the first couple of minutes, or the first few seconds, I guess, I thought she was lip syncing a record. I really did. I said, there's no way she could be singing. But she was. Oh, was she?
Connie won the contest and a spot on the stage with Anderson. Their meeting that August night would soon transform Connie Smith from a Midwestern housewife into a national star. The life and times of Connie Smith returns in a moment here on TNN. Of Connie Smith continues on TNN. In the fall of 1963, Connie Smith kept busy being a wife and a mother. The talent contest she'd recently won was a pleasant memory, particularly getting to meet Bill Anderson. What she didn't realize was that Anderson had become her biggest fan and had big plans for her.
She had a sound all of her own. She made me think of an old country gospel singer from up in the mountains of West Virginia named Molly O'Day, who sang back in the 40s and the 50s. And I had never heard that clarity. And I mean, just right on pitch on every note. It was just incredible.
Anderson invited Connie to Nashville to join him on Ernest Tubb's Midnight Jamboree. In March of 1964, Connie made her Music City debut, as excited to see Ernest Tubb and Loretta Lynn perform as she was to sing herself. She left Nashville happy, not expecting anything to come of it. Anderson, however, had already set things in motion.
Bill called me and said, why don't you come to Nashville and record some songs? I'm doing a demo tape of some songs I've written for some other artists, and wanted me to sing on the tape. And I did. I came down in May.
The first place I took her was to Decca Records, where I was at the time. And I never will forget what Owen Bradley said. Yeah, she's good, but he said, we've got this new girl singer at Decca named Loretta Lynn that we're going to put a big push on. And he said, I just don't think we've got room for her. And then that's when we went to Chet Atkins at RCA.
Chet Atkins didn't make the same mistake. He signed her immediately and put her to work on an album with producer Bob Ferguson.
It was one of the greatest things ever happened in my life, because Bob Ferguson is one of the finest men I've ever known. Our relationship was wonderful, and he naturally, he knew how to get out of me what he wanted to get out of me.
Things continued to move quickly. Less than 2 months later, in August 1964, her first single was released, a song written by Bill Anderson called Once a Day.
Once a day, all day long, and once a night, from dusk till dawn, the only time I wish you weren't gone is once a day, every day, all day long. Yeah, well then.
Once a Day rocketed to #1, and Connie Smith made country history. She was the first female singer to have her debut record go to the top of the charts. All this from a small-town Ohio housewife who'd never taken a singing lesson.
My biggest deal when I cut Once a Day is I wanted to hear it on the radio. And so I remember my husband Jerry and I were driving through West Virginia on our, going somewhere, and I heard it come on the radio, and I actually was hanging out of the car trying to raise up the antenna so we could hear it, because it was in the mountains, and I just, was trying not to fall out of the car so I could get up there and raise that antenna to hear my song on the radio.
Millions of others heard Connie's song on the radio and instantly fell in love with it and with her. Her genuine style came from her simple Midwestern upbringing. She conveyed honest and pure emotion. Her beauty was natural and unadorned. It was a devastatingly powerful combination.
I was really attracted to her music. I just love her. Oh, wherever Val you made me. She had that little thing on the end, and she was such a stylist. And I just thought she was so beautiful. I just idolized her.
Kitty Wells was still having very big success in terms of records. Dottie West was coming into view pretty strong. Connie, if you listen to her early records, she didn't sound like anybody. She sounded like Connie Smith. The tone and the range and the quality, the soul, the power. It was a voice that had never been heard in country music before. Nothing like it had ever been heard like that before. And she was an immediate hit.
Connie was in the middle of a whirlwind. Before she had time to fully absorb what was happening, she hit the road for her first tour. Packing in crowds to venues much larger than a square dance or PTA meeting took some getting used to. So did dealing with the pain of being separated from her family. A pain so deep it nearly ended Connie's career even as it was just beginning.
When I got back home, the babysitter told me that Darren had stood at the window, had her put once a day on the turntable, and stood at the window waiting for me to come home. And I said, that's it, I quit, it don't matter, I can sing it, you know, after supper, whatever, I don't care. I'm not gonna leave my baby anymore.
After talking things over with her husband, Connie realized that by continuing her career, she could earn more money and better provide for her son. She followed up her initial release with more hits. The Connie Smith sound was defined by the pedal steel guitar of Weldon Myrick and some of the best songwriters of the day.
You weren't disappointed in one of her cuts. So many times, you know, a writer, they have this song, maybe it's their pet, their baby or something, and then it winds up really not being cut the way you hear it, but not so with her. She belted the thing out.
I wanted a song that I felt like I could get a hold of. I wanted a song that I understood. I wanted a song that I wasn't embarrassed to sing. I didn't want to talk about something I didn't want to talk about. And I really feel the song is a story.
The nights were dark and long. I spent a million all alone. But I never once stopped loving you. My world was cold and still. My dreams lay unfulfilled. But I never once stopped loving you.
Part of Connie's appeal was her authenticity. She sang about things true to her heart. In 1966, her 5-year marriage ended, shattering her dreams of having the perfect family. Her sadness was so profound that she was unable to appreciate her incredible success.
I guess I never really noticed the professional successes so much, because when the personal thing wasn't right, then it colored, as it does, it colors everything. And so as most people do that go through a marriage that doesn't work, they go to the other end of the spectrum and go the other route, which a lot of times doesn't work either.
For Connie, that meant marrying again, shortly after her divorce. Her second husband, Jack Watkins, played guitar and gave Connie a second son named Kerry. But the marriage wasn't meant to be, and a year later, Connie was on her own again. Now alone and with 2 mouths to feed, Connie's personal and professional pressures overwhelmed her. She was on the brink of despair. The life and times of Connie Smith returns in a moment here on TNN. Of Connie Smith continues on TNN.
I guess perhaps the memories got too strong, grabbed me by the heartstrings and pulled me home. I got to thinking about some friends I know in Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati, where the river winds across the Mason and the Dixon line. Heaven waits for me, I know, in Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati, Ohio.
In 1968, Connie Smith continued to captivate millions of fans, including one of her idols, George Jones, who now called Connie Smith his favorite country singer. Every record she released was a bestseller. Every single made the charts.
It was just like one record right after another. She could do no wrong. You know, Then and Only Then, Tiny Blue Transistor Radio, Nobody But a Fool Would Love You, The Hurtin's All Over. The list just goes on, and she was just She could do no wrong. The people loved her.
Her success catapulted her to the front ranks of country. In 1965, Connie surpassed her childhood dream of singing at the Grand Ole Opry when she was invited to become a member. She performed there regularly, earning the title from Roy Acuff of the Sweetheart of the Grand Ole Opry. She also toured the country in between all of her other engagements. The petite blonde with the big voice captured the hearts of thousands of men and boys across the nation. One of them, a 12-year-old from Philadelphia, Mississippi, went to see his idol in concert.
I thought she was the prettiest thing I'd ever seen. I mean, like, I thought Elizabeth Taylor, Sophia Loren, Connie, that pretty, that kind of pretty. She's like an angel. And only thing I could do is take her picture. And I had my mama take me and buy me a new shirt, a yellow shirt, so I could meet her that night. So hopefully I'd get to meet her, you know. Maybe she'd notice me. And she got me that night. She got me right in the heart. Shot me right in the heart. And I remember saying on the way home, I'm gonna marry her.
Marriage was the farthest thing from Connie's mind. She had 2 divorces behind her and 2 toddlers to care for. To make matters worse, Connie still agonized about the time she spent away from her children.
I cut back and didn't work any more than I felt was necessary to make a living. And the fact that I never really wanted to be top in the business, I never was aimed to be a superstar or anything like that. Basically, it was, I loved to sing, and it was my way of enjoying my work and made a living and raised the kids.
The one thing I remember about Connie is almost like she was withholding herself from going out there all the way, you know. I do remember that about her, and it used to bother me a little bit because I knew that she's so talented and so pretty, but it was her choice. Connie was really a good mom to her children. Being a mother, I remember that about her. That very important to her.
The constant conflict between being a good mother and being a country superstar left Connie feeling like she was failing on both fronts. Gone were the Prince Charming, castle, and happily ever after fantasies she'd carried with her since childhood. In their place, Connie faced a harsh reality and battled with depression.
When somebody else lets you down, that's a really hard time in your life. But when I think the hardest time is when you find out you've let yourself down. And I'd gotten to that point and couldn't seem to get back any what I thought was what I wanted in my life or live up to my standards, much less, you know, I mean, anybody's.
Connie's search for meaning ended when she sang with some friends at a church's Easter program. There she found her salvation.
Going there and finding out was God calling me to himself, that made the difference in my life. And then everything took on a new perspective. And it's still, that's still the best part. It's still the best part. It's made my music have a different perspective.
Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
I used to go out on stage and think, oh, nobody's gonna love me, and if I'd mess up, I'd be so embarrassed because I thought, you know, I didn't do it right, I failed again. But yet, having the Lord in your life, instead of worrying about everybody loving me, I can go out there and love them. It's much easier.
How great thou
Connie expressed her newly found passion in every facet of her life. She released several gospel albums and worked with several evangelist crusaders, including Rex Humbard and Billy Graham. She met her third husband, Marshall Haynes, in church. Connie embraced her new life with all of her heart. Together, the couple had 3 girls, Julie, Jeannie, and Jody.
I remember both Mom and Dad always praying for us before we went to bed. I used to love that.
I had the 5 best kids. They really were good kids. They were wonderful. I mean, when we used to take them to church, I mean, all the eyes would turn when we walk in with all them baby girls with those big blue eyes.
I remember when she would have band practice at the house, and she'd set them up in the living room on the piano, and they'd bring in all the little amps and plug it in. She'd plug in a little microphone. Every time she set it down, we tried to pick it up and start singing, or sing backup harmony with her, and she just would get frustrated because she was like, I can't hear myself.
It was business.
So, but, you know, it was just a total joke.
Connie Smith counted her blessings on both hands. She had a large and happy family, was inspiring people through her gospel music, and continued to be a huge favorite among country fans. Above all, she felt blessed by God. Just as everything was going her way, Connie was about to face the biggest challenge of her life. The life and times of Connie Smith returns in a moment here on TNN. Connie Smith continues on TNN. Connie Smith charged into her 10th year of making hit country music with the same energy as when she'd begun. She prided herself on singing honestly and from the heart, qualities that shone through in songs like the self-penned You've Got Me Right Where You Want Me.
You've got me right where you want me. It's true, I'm right in the palm of your hand. You've got me right where you want me to be, and I want me right where I am.
I love sharing my heart, and there's parts of it that I keep for myself or certain people. But if I'm going to share it, I want to share it.
Connie's outspoken devotion to her faith led some to believe she had become a gospel singer. For a time, she did consider leaving country music behind and dedicating herself exclusively to gospel.
She was talking at that time about not singing country music anymore, but just sing religious songs. And that was a big battle that I had with Connie Smith. I said, Connie, you have a mind, you have a body, and you have a spirit. And you got to balance all 3 of them if you get the most out of life. You are a country singer, and the greatest contribution that you can give is to continue to sing the country music.
Connie did continue to sing country music, but she also continued to question her priorities.
There wasn't enough of me to go around. And so it was a really stressful time because I was wrestling between the business, working, and the kids at home, and wanting to do everything perfect and not doing anything perfect. And it was so hard for me to leave home. It seems like every time I'd pack up and get ready to leave, one of them would get a fever, and I'd rather die, than leave them that way. So it was just really hard.
From the beginning of her career, Connie had struggled with the same issue. After much soul-searching, she realized that there was only one way to end that struggle. In 1979, Connie Smith shocked her fans and the business when she announced her retirement.
And no matter how perfect you are, or how close to perfect you are, which I'm nowhere near it, you can't help but feel guilty about not spending enough time with your family. And I have that. I've had that torment a lot of times, and those guilty feelings. And I'm sure that that probably saved her from having a lot of that.
She and I've talked about it. A lot of it had to do with her spiritual foundation, and a lot of it had to do with her children and her commitment to her family.
I was accused a lot of being ungrateful to the business because I didn't give it enough, and I wasn't willing to pay the price. And I know there's areas very, you know, very probably I could have been more successful in had I focused on it. I'm really proud of my kids. And they're not so great just because I stayed home with them. They're great people, but I'm not sorry. I can see all kinds of ways that they would have been harmed more had I just aimed to be a career girl.
It took a lot of guts to give. People don't give that up for their families more times than not, and it makes me feel special. Although I feel kind of bad about part of it too. You know, because she gave up a lot to do it.
Though Connie continued to perform at the Opry, both for the love of it and to help support her family, for the most part, she disappeared from the music scene. For the first time in her life, Connie's main role was that of a mother and a housewife.
It made it a little rougher financially, you know, but as far as being home with the kids, I love to sing. I never, as I said, I never was that career-oriented anyway. So as far as missing it, I missed my friends. I missed the people in it, but as far as really missing being in the business, no, sorry.
It took a while for the country world to truly accept their star's new lifestyle. For 15 years, she'd sung her heart out, winning the hearts of millions of fans in the process. Now that striking voice had fallen silent. After barreling down some pretty sharp twists and turns, Connie appeared settled on the straight and narrow. But there was one more huge curve ahead. The life and times of Connie Smith returns in a moment here on TNN. Of Connie Smith continues on TNN. Connie Smith followed up 15 years of fame with more than a decade of quiet motherhood. Though she resumed some touring when her youngest child entered school, for the most part, she stayed out of the public eye. Connie's life continued on an even keel until 1990, when after 17 years of marriage, she once again divorced.
I know it was very hard on the kids. I know it. Any marriage, whether you want it to end or whether it ends on its own or whether whoever wants it to end, is hard. And so it is harder because I had all the kids were older. The girls, it was their daddy, and they were, you know, young teenagers basically. So almost anyway. So it was hard.
I think it was her Christianity, you know, her faith in God that pulled her through those things. Because she did keep going and kept wearing that smile. I'm sure there were times when she didn't want to smile that big, you know.
Connie had plenty of experience turning hardship around. She'd learned to make the most of things as one of 14 children who'd sharecropped in order to have enough food to eat. She'd overcome the pressures of the music industry by staying true to her heart and her faith. Now she used all of her life experience to help her move on.
I thought, man, I don't want my kids, just as they're growing up and getting ready to go out and doing their thing, worrying about mama sitting at the house, you know. And I thought, well, you know, they're all, as they say, mama, get a life, you know. I thought, well, I guess I could, what would I do? Well, I could get in the business.
Getting back in the business on her terms meant working with the best. Connie's high standards came from the high expectations she demanded of herself and from having worked with some of the best in the industry. She racked her brain to come up with the ideal partner.
When it all boiled down to it, I thought, there's only one person I know of. And I had met him years before, like, you know, when he was 12 years old. But a few months before that, I had seen him, you know, downtown, and we got to talking about music. And I was really impressed with what was coming out of his heart. And I thought, that's the only person I could think of, Marty Stewart.
She came and talked to me about maybe thinking about writing some songs and helping her get together some sort of tape. And I remember the first thing I thought is like, here's the best singer in town as far as I'm concerned, but she's been inactive. How could we ever do her justice and find a real record deal that would honor her for what she is and what she deserves to be?
Connie and Marty joined forces, writing dozens of songs, and in the process, getting to know one another.
Just being with him when we were writing, part of writing is you just talk, you know, and just listening to him. It didn't take long, you know. It don't take long, you know, to fall in love with somebody.
Next thing I knew, I was falling in love all over again, hooked up with the way I felt when I was 12 years old. And then I could deny it, I could try to hide it, but it was all over. I mean, heart, take, back seat, bam, gone.
In July 1997, Connie and Marty were married. Since then, they continue to grow closer and fall more deeply in love.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see.
I don't know how I could get any better than this. I wake up with my best friend. She's my biggest fan. I'm her biggest fan. We love almost all the same things. And it's like, it's a pure soulmate. She's a pure soulmate.
He's got a great heart. He's a very, very generous soul. And he's an old soul. He's very wise. So he's got all the qualities that I've looked for all my life.
She deserves to be happy. She deserves a good man. It looks like it's working out, you know. We'll kill him, you know. Easy. Me and the boys, all I have to do is make a call and he's over with. He's out of here.
I think he's great. He's done wonders for my mother. I see it all over her face and the way that she acts, and I couldn't ask for anything better.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
Thank you. I love you.
You too.
The life and times of Connie Smith returns in a moment here on TNN. Of Connie Smith continues on TNN.
I want to say that I can't wait for the next album because it's going to be even better. I'm new at this and I'm just getting the hang of it. So thank you so much.
In 1998, after a 20-year absence, Connie Smith returned with a new album. It's not often an artist gets a second chance in the music business, but then it's not often a Connie Smith comes around.
The reason we got involved with Connie, Jim Ed Norman, who is the president of Warner Brothers, Warner Reprise, was listening to the Grand Ole Opry one night on his way home, and he heard Connie say, man, she sings as good now as she ever has, you know, and maybe better.
Connie and Marty wrote most of the tracks on her new album, including one called Hearts Like Ours.
Hearts like ours, strong and true, so in love, that's me and you. Tender words, sweet desire, true love songs still belong to hearts like ours.
I think it's wonderful that she's back and recording again. I'm mad because she started writing all her own songs. She didn't call me. She didn't say, hey, Bill, write me a song for my new album. But this business needs Connie Smith.
Inspirational is the word that best fits Connie these days. She's a role model to women everywhere. She continues to encourage others with her faith, and she's busy helping the next generation of country women who can only hope to fill half of their idols' boots.
She knows the the value of a mentor, because she certainly had them. And she did the same for me. And I think that speaks volumes of her character and her cognizance of the whole, what country music is about. You know, it's about sharing and passing things along and influencing, and she did that to me.
From her overnight success more than 30 years ago to her rejuvenation today, Connie still marvels at how this all happened to a small-town Ohio girl with a big voice.
Most of what I know about music, I don't know, I feel. And I don't know as I want to change a lot of that. There's some things I'd like to learn headwise, but I don't like it. I'm no good at lip singing. I can't sing a line the same way twice. I don't remember what I did last time or how I did it. It just comes out and shocks me, you know.
Sometimes when she's standing at the sink, washing dishes, singing, I just stop on the other end of the house and go, that's incredible. She snores better than I can sing on my best day.
Wrapped in the love of her family and friends, Connie Smith is ready for everything and capable of anything. She's as happy and healthy as she's ever been, and excited about crossing over a new threshold.
If the place of Queen has been taken, not sure it has, but if it has, she should certainly be the princess. You know, she's just that kind of royalty as far as her voice and talent goes.
I'm all for her. Just doing great all over again. I think it started. I think it'll get bigger. It's definitely deserved.
Whatever she wants to do, I'll support. If she wants to sing, I'm there for her. If she wants to wash dishes and hang out at the house and hug babies and, you know, pet grandchildren and kids, I'm for that too. Whatever makes her happy, she deserves that.
I just know I'm not done. You know, I know I've got more songs to sing. I've got more songs to write. I've got more things to do, and it's just a matter of continuing on my life.